Yo, what's good YouTube? Welcome back to my video. So today I'm going to just do a watch list. I did a watch list about 2 weeks ago and essentially just want to follow up with what happened with the results, and as well as provide you guys a new watch list for this week and next week as well. Just because it's on my watch list doesn't mean I'm taking a position. Obviously what matters is the overall market, and once the prices reach the certain areas that I'm willing to buy at. But to get started, we talked about apps 2 weeks ago, had some divergence, and since then it literally ran up. My target was about 30% and it kept going, broke the 200-day moving average, and it's all the way up about 48% since then. We also talked about ZTO. ZTO, we had a target of only about 9%. But on this specific day, I talked about it in the Discord, and I basically said that, yo, this candle is a bit too big, and essentially I think it could go even higher, and I noted these levels that this would be my breakout. This would be the area I'd basically cash out if it comes down here. But I was looking to cash it at the 200-day moving average, and as well as this area right here. But it kept going, and literally from then it's literally went all the way up to about 24-25%, and it came back down, but I already cashed out on this one. So yeah, it's about a 20% plus return. We talked about FSR as well. FSR, we talked about how there was an alternate bat. There was also divergence as well, and I said that, hey, it's gonna play out, but it needs to break that 1450 level. If it doesn't, and it doesn't hold this demand line, we're coming back down to 1211, which I believe even Champ was talking about it, and there's a harmonic that landed on this level. And literally from then it just played out, and I said that it needs to break this 1450 level. I took a little bit of profit here, and then I took a little bit here. Essentially with FSR, I'm just waiting for it to hit that 1750 if it could manage to break the 200-day moving average, and as well as break the possible supply line. SOFI, this one is one of my favorite stocks I've been holding for a while. We had an alternate bat right here. It made a lower low. So we were talked about it. There was a divergence on the MACD as well as the RSI. Made a lower, a higher low, a second higher low, a third higher low, and it literally broke this area. And I was saying how it needs to hit that 200-day moving average, and there was a gap to fill as well. So it did hit that area, and now it's breaking above the 200-day moving average. My next target would be about 1870 and then the $20 mark. So the return for this one was about so right now we're up about 20%. So about 20-21% on SOFI. So in terms of the stocks I'm looking at right now, the first one here I have is ChargePoint. ChargePoint, I got an entry in about at 1993 or 1994 is where I got an entry at. And there was essentially divergence right here on both the MACD and the RSI. You have a falling wedge. You had 1 touch, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and essentially just broke out today. And target is I'm looking for about 43% return. I would need it to hold this $19 area. This is a very strong support area. You had a huge support here, 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 here as well, and on this red candle as well. So I would like to see this start moving up. Essentially, you could target right about at 26.72 because it was a resistance right here, and as well as a support in this area. And then the 200-day moving average is another target. And if you're very bullish on this, your next target could be about 35.87, which would have been the top right here. Other stocks I'm currently looking at for this week, we have is TDOC. There's a triangle right now. It hit the very bottom of it. We do have divergence on the MACD. So you have the triple divergence on the MACD. Essentially just needs to hold this 132 level, and target would be at 173, which would also be the top of the triangle, and as well as the triple 1, 2, 3, possibly quadruple divergence on the 4-hour chart. The next stock we have is Very Good Foods. This one is actually a company I really like fundamentally. The revenues have been going up year over year. They're a very small company. For those of you that don't know, they're basically like a Beyond Meat or a Tattooed Chef. Their numbers like fundamentally have been going up, but the stock has been going down. So eventually it's just a matter of time before this could start taking off and really, you know, I believe once an analyst pretty much comes in on this one, I don't think they have an analyst, but once they do get an analyst and coverage on it, I think this one could definitely take off. We do have divergence on the MACD for the daily. If you ignore this candle, even if you don't, you still have it as well on here. But yeah, so that's it for the MACD. The RSI, you have triple on the daily, and I believe as well the 4 hour you have divergence, and same thing on the RSI, triple for Very Good Foods. And like I always talk about every single week, you always have to look for a bearish pattern that you could play, because you never know, if the market becomes bearish, then all those bullish plays that you have might not work out. So you always got to have like that one hedge. And essentially for me, this is Snapchat. So Snapchat, we have bearish divergence on here on the MACD and on the RSI. You do have it as well on the weekly. So look at this on the weekly, on the RSI and the MACD. So pretty much on the daily and the weekly, it is very bearish. And if I believe SPY is looking as well, or the S&P futures were looking very bearish. So if that does play out, then pretty much Snap has a gap to fill all the way down to 63, and has to hold this area. If it breaks this area of 64.81, then you pretty much target the gap to fill. Next one I have here is Under Armour. Under Armour has a nice trend that it's been holding since August of 2020. Pretty much bounced off of here, and as well here. What I would like to see is for it to come back down, retest it, and then you could take a position. You could target is about 18% for about 24.37, which would have been a resistance here, and here. And you could also target this area, which I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this was the 618 Fibonacci level. But that's pretty much it for Under Armour. Let me see if there's anything on the weekly for this one. Nothing on weekly. And as well, you do have divergence on the 4 hour. So yeah, that's for Under Armour. The next one is BBIG. This one, I would love to see it fill this gap and possibly come closer down to the support area. But you do have divergence on the MACD for the 4 hours, and you do have it as well on the daily, but this still needs to start weighing in and start forming. As of right now, it's still a little too early. The next stock we have here is CCJ. So CCJ, if you ignore this island right here, you have a bigger divergence, but even if you don't ignore it, you still have divergence regardless. It still needs to start waning back in. This is for the daily, and as well as the 4 hour, you have divergence as well right near support. You'd want to get a position a little bit closer right here, and you could target this gap to fill, and possibly as well target the top areas, and even maybe for an all-time high. Next one we have is Walmart. For Walmart, we do have divergence. If you ignore these small little islands, I believe even if you don't, it could still work out. Whoops. Even if you don't, it still works out, but I'm ignoring it. But regardless, whether you ignore it or not, it's still divergence right here. And it's starting to weigh back in and needs to confirm. But essentially, it's holding as well this big trend line since March. Since literally the COVID crash, it touched this line, bounced, touched this line, bounced, and now it's touching the line again. Pretty much your entry, you could target right about 149, or you could end up just targeting that 150 area that I had drawn up, which should have been a resistance right here, resistance right here, resistance right here. So that's pretty much it for Walmart, and the daily as well, I believe, looks good as well. Yeah, so the daily looks good as well, and it just needs to hold that 200-day moving average, so it's not really that hard to play this one. Next one we have is CBAT. CBAT, we have divergence on the RSI. We have triple divergence on the MACD. Needs to hold this $2.41. You'd want to kind of get as close as possible and get enter here. And target would be the 200-day moving average, or you could target as well right about here, the 376, which would have been a resistance right here, resistance here, here, and as well here. So pretty much that for CBAT. Last one I have on my watch list is ZNGA. ZNGA is holding a nice trend line. So you had a bounce here, and possibly a bounce here. You have a huge gap to fill all the way to 959. So you could target that area if you were to take a position. Just needs to hold that 742. Below 742, I no longer like the stock. So yeah, you have your 200-day moving average. You have your gap to fill that you could target. And pretty much that's it for ZNGA. The next ones are ticker requests I've gotten. So ticker requests, you could either message me, post it on the Discord, or put it on the comments, and I could do a ticker request for you for next weekend. But first one I got was POW. You do have divergence on the MACD. I would need this to hold this area. This is the area that I'm looking at that I would need to hold. But you do have a supply line that it finally broke out. It needs to break the 200-day moving average, and then you could target the 788. Let me see for 4 hours. Same thing for 4 hours, but I don't believe there's any divergence or anything like that on the 4-hour chart. Oh, sorry. Actually, you know what it is? For CBAT, the weekly. The weekly was really good. You have triple divergence on the weekly for POW. But like I said, you'd like to perhaps get an entry about right here and then take off. If not, get an entry above the 200-day moving average and use the 200-day moving average as support. Breaks below, you want to get out. Next two stocks I have is ZEV that was requested. There's not much that I see in terms of MACD or RSI, but you do have a demand line that you want to hold, and there's a supply line that needs to break, essentially forming a triangle. You have 1 touch, 2 touch, 3 touch, 4 touch, 5 touches, and now it just needs to make a decision whether it goes to the upside or it goes to the downside. If it goes to the downside, you have a gap to fill all the way at 647. If it goes to the upside, you need to break this 988 area, 200-day moving average, and then you could target up to 1214. But these areas are going to be a little bit hard to break because I believe this was a SPAC as well. So you need something fundamental for it to kind of push it further a lot faster. Next one I have is REE. This stock, honestly, I couldn't really find anything. Nothing bullish, nothing bearish that I could really see. Honestly, it just needs to hold 528. I believe the 523 was the all-time low. Anything below 523, I would not like the stock because it could just keep making newer lows, and you never know where it could end up going. But that's pretty much my thought for REE. Also, I just wanted to bring up that we're doing a $600 to 100K challenge. This is going to be a long-term account, looking to achieve that within 3 years. I did make a video on it, so if you want to go ahead and check that out. And essentially, I would be keeping you guys updated on my Twitter, so mmfinance247. Here's the video. Essentially, every time I buy or sell a leap option or any contracts or any stocks, I'm going to be going ahead and posting it with my entries. And there's an update as well. We were up about 11% on the day since clove gone up. But essentially, if you want to just follow me on Twitter, and also don't forget to leave your ticker requests down below. I'll definitely be doing another video on a watch list this coming weekend. If you want a faster response, you could always DM me on Twitter or message me on Discord, and I could do a ticker request for you right off the bat. But that's pretty much everything for today, and peace.